What if I told you that your inability to handle objections has absolutely nothing to do with your sales script, right? It's not your tone, it's not your product knowledge, it's not even your training or experience. Like literally those things are easy to get. It is, and it's gonna sound crazy, I believe it's your relationship with conflict. And I know that sounds crazy, but stick with me here because I'm about to prove it to you, right? I've been in sales for 5 years. I've closed over 6 mil online personally, worked with people like Jerry Minor, Taylor Conroy. I've personally trained tons of reps. And I used to think the same thing that you probably think right now, which is that better word tracks would solve everything, right? If I just had, something sexier, a new reframe, a new hook, a new analogy, that it would just all click. But I noticed something really weird.
Dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks, while I'm flipping these birds. I just flipped a birdie. Money so dirty. Got my bitch a mate.
When I reviewed calls, right, when I was at 7th level, the reps who consistently closed weren't the ones with the best scripts, like necessarily. Like that, yes, they had good scripts, but they were the ones who could stay calm when things got heated, and they were the ones who could hold boundaries and actually push back on calls and off calls, right? It was the way that they showed up. And I believe that this way of being is something that starts off the court and naturally will show up in your calls once you master this skill. And if you stay till the end of this video, I'm going to show you 3 like real life boundary moments, none of them on a Zoom call, which have been completely rewiring my ability to close deals. And more importantly, how you could start doing the same, like ASAP. Now, if you're a coach, a closer, sales pro, closer, high ticket sales rep who literally freezes up sometimes when objections happen, look, I've been there. Or maybe you feel like you're just being walked over by your prospects who either they ghost you, they reschedule on you, you lose control of calls, like you just feel like you let them run the entire dynamic. This video is for you, right? If you're doing all the right things in sales even, or you're following the scripts, you're hitting, your activities, but you're still not converting at the level you should be, this is definitely for you. Flip side, if you think sales is just about like dope one-liners and pushing people into a yes, they don't want to, like this is not going to be for you, because I'm not here to show you how to manipulate people, right? If you want to get that, you can go find it on the internet. I'm not going to teach pushy closing techniques. I don't believe in it. I'm going to teach raw emotional power. And there's a massive difference. And this is something that can be used in all areas of your life, not just sales, right? So here's the thing is like, it's the thing that nobody wants to talk about, which is most reps don't need the rebuttal. They need boundaries, right? They need to learn to express 2 things. 1, what are they okay with? And 2, what are they not okay with? And this is both on Zoom and at home in your relationships, right? Think about it. When a prospect says, I need to think about it, what happens in your body, right? For like a lot of people, their heart rate spikes, their palms get sweaty, maybe your tone starts to shift. Why? Because for people who have this relationship with conflict where they're avoidant with it, objections don't just feel like questions or concerns. They feel like rejection, and they're taken just so personally, right? And if you have spent a lot of your life just like avoiding conflict, people pleasing, or trying to keep everyone happy, you will do anything to avoid that feeling of rejection, right? Conflict will make you freeze. The tension will make you fold. And that's exactly why you can't close, right? You can have every rebuttal in the book, but if your nervous system can't handle the heat of conflict, you'll crumble every single time, right? So let me give you guys a couple examples off the court, because I think the way to learn this skill set is actually not so much on a sales call where there's the pressure of a close. I think the best place to learn it is in real life, is in other negotiations, is in other communication. One situation that just happened really recently is there's an influencer who I'm considering partnering up with, and I'm working on a high level deal with, and she has a multiple 7-figure, pushing 8-figure business, 8-year track record, crushing it. And in some ways on paper, she has higher status than me, right? She's made more, done more, etc. And we've been working to book in like a 1-to-1 call for about a month. And it took like me having to coordinate with her assistant to book something in advance. And we finally get this thing booked. And right after we get it booked for like the next week, like out of nowhere, she slid into my DMs and said, crazy idea, call me right now. Idea expires in 4 minutes. Now, this is a funny text, like from a humorous perspective. And the thing that's interesting about it is unconsciously, this is a boundary test. This is a shit test, right? There's two things. Will I react and cave to that urgency, or am I going to hold my ground and stay patient and calm? Now, the old me for sure would have been like, oh man, there's a deal on the line. I need to jump on this urgency. I need to get after it. She wants to hire me. Like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Let me jump on it. Version of me today, present day, looks very different. I had actually buried my phone in the garage that day, which is hilarious. Like literally put my phone in the garage in my car so I couldn't have it accessible to me while I was working. And this is something I do quite often now because it's a boundary I hold with my phone, is getting it in a different physical space so that I can actually get shit done, be on top of my tasks, and get into deep flow states. So by the time I saw that message, it was like 8 hours later. And then I still waited longer to respond just to solidify a point. Why? Even though there was humor and even though it was a joke, actions set the frame and they set the communication cadence for the way that the rest of any relationship will look, right? You're teaching people how to treat you and what's acceptable. Just like when you hop on a sales call, right? The way the frame is set, the cadence control, the first 5 minutes set the tone of that entire call, right? However, a big piece why people can't hold a frame is that they have a fear of conflict, right? They have a fear of possibly frustrating someone, of possibly flaring up the fight or flight and having that kick in the other person or in themselves. So here's actually how I handled that situation. I want to give you guys a tangible example because one superpower I wish I would have learned earlier is having really professional texts that hold boundaries and professional messages in general that hold boundaries. This could be also with partners as well, romantically. So I said, hey, 8, 9, 12 hours later, appreciate your eagerness to connect. I've got a pretty tight calendar and don't typically jump on unscheduled calls, especially with 3 minutes notice. We have a call booked through your assistant this week. Want to bump that up something sooner? Would that help you? No apology, no sorry, just calm, clear boundaries. Her response was, yep, let's just keep our original call. Totally get it. I'm 50% joking anyways. Now, I'll clarify that open loop later on the 50% joking, but the thing that mattered here is the principle of not being reactive in relationships and setting boundaries through actions, right? This is everything. Now, the more important lesson, like the deeper layer, is, to me, holding frame without apology is leadership. Holding frame without apology is leadership, right? So when you can actually set boundaries with high status people who are used to getting their way, you develop a different relationship with power. You stop seeing objections or shit tests. You stop seeing them as attacks from people, and you actually start seeing them as opportunities to demonstrate your own authority and actually establish status with these high level people so they realize that they can trust you. And here's the connection though to sales that blew my mind. When you can't say no in your life, how would you ever expect to be able to say no in your sales process, right? If you can't tell a high status person that their last minute just demands don't work for you, how are you going to tell a prospect that their timeline doesn't work for you? How are you going to challenge a prospect to say that their decision-making process doesn't work for you, right? Because if you cave to urgency and desperation from people, how are you ever going to push back when a prospect tries to negotiate your prices down to nothing, right? You got to have lines and be willing to walk away. So let's dive into example number 2. And this showed up immediately in my business. I had a prospect. Let's call her Sally. This was for an offer that I was closing in, a month or 2 ago. And she had been scheduling calls, kind of ghosting. We had a sales call, said she was going to follow through on some things, didn't follow through. And we all know how this goes. Prospect says they're going to do one thing, doesn't follow through on their actions. Closer continues to chase them. The cycle persists. Nothing good happens. She was super disengaged, distracted, not present on our call. And here's the thing. At this point in the conversation, I had not communicated my expectations of her yet. Right? So it's unfair in my mind for us to, if we don't communicate expectations to people, then how are they supposed to know what we expect them to be at, right? I was frustrated with her, but it's not fair of me to be frustrated without setting that line. So The flip side is once you do set a line, once you do set a boundary with somebody, it provides an opportunity for clarity, right? It provides an opportunity to get coherence and decide, do we have a way to move forward or not? And so the old me, the old version of me in sales would have kept chasing her, would have, made excuses for her. Oh, she's busy. She's probably going through something. I just need to be more patient. But present day me knows clarity is king. Clarity is everything. So before our next scheduled call, I sent a text like unlike anything I'd ever sent to a prospect before. And it said, hey, name, if we don't complete any transfer today, I will have to retract the offer. Starting off with this back and forth energy and pushing off calls starts to cause a bit of uncertainty for me when I hear you say you will follow through and the actions are not following as promised. Next paragraph. Wanted to loop you in so you are aware where I stand. I'd like to support you, and the cadence of how we start sets the path for the next 7 months. There's no questions. This is what I need. Are you going to be able to meet it? Yes or no? And there's consequences and clarity, right? If they can't meet those needs, we will retract the offer and we won't be able to work together. And I'm willing to walk away. Was that risky? Sure. She could have said, fine, I'm out and walked away. But here's what actually happened. She texted me later that day, said, hey, I'm extremely busy. And yes, I'm willing to move forward with this. I appreciate your patience. Wire sent, $9K paid in full. Why? Because I taught her how to treat me. And once I started respecting my own time in the interaction, she actually started respecting it too. The whole demeanor of our conversations changed. The cadence of our conversations changed. And she actually opened up to me way more off the back end of that. So here's like the pattern of it, right? How you let prospects behave at the start of your relationship. Guess what, guys? That's how they're going to behave the entire way through the relationship, right? So if you can't set that tone right away, you're going to end up in some really uncomfortable situations. We don't want them to push you around in the sales process because they'll push you around as a client. And if they can disrespect your time before they've paid you, imagine what they're going to do once they pay you, man. They're going to take over your freaking life. So setting boundaries and holding boundaries, it's leadership, and it's an offer of breath. It's a breath of fresh air in a world of people pleasers, right? Now I'll give you guys one final story, and if you made it this far, kudos to you guys for sticking on this one. It's a slightly longer video, but I think this story is really the kicker for me, and this is what I call the Bachata confrontation. So I think this one really just drove it home for me. Another experience of boundaries where it's off the court, not on sales calls. About a month or so ago, I was at a social dance event. I do Latin dancing. So for those of you guys who don't know, but Bachata is like a Latin dance, super fun. And while I was in the lesson, this older woman started like hitting on me like pretty aggressively, saying some things that I don't want to bring up here on the YouTube video. But after the lesson ended, the social dance starts, which is where you dance with different partners, you have fun, you go out there on the dance floor. This fucking woman, I couldn't believe it. She started like yelling, like harassing comments. She's not being mean to me, but they were like sexual. She's like yelling these comments at me while I'm dancing with one of my good friends. And I was just shocked by this, right? Now I could have ignored it. That's what the old version of me would have done. It's fine, whatever. Let's just move to a different part of the dance floor. Let's just get away from this, and just dealt with it, avoided the conflict. But I didn't, right? I'm reconditioning a new way of being. And so what I did is I paused mid-dance with my partner. I looked her in the eye and I said, hey, one moment. And I walked directly over this woman and I yelled as I was walking over there. Like, I was like, hey, and it cut through the music. It cut through the entire room. Everyone turned inwards to look. And I said, you are making it incredibly difficult for me to enjoy my night here and to be present. Do not talk to me any further. I do not want to hear any comments from you. If you continue to talk to me, I'm going to say things that are going to offend you. And she was just stunned, like mouth open, eyes wide. She couldn't believe that someone had raised their voice at her in public, right? But like people think there's not consequences to their behavior, and there are. It's just there's so few people who are willing to uphold consequences, right? And the entire bar had paused to watch this confrontation. And you know what? Like, I was fucking proud of that moment. Like, I felt empowered off the back end. Not like I was ever physically threatened or something, but I knew that an older version of me would have just caved, dealt with it, would have let someone disrespect my peace and the person I was with, their peace as well, rather than risk making a scene, right? And I walked back to my dance partner, continued the dance, had an epic night. We balled out, got on the dance floor, and just had a peaceful, playful evening, right? And so in the end of all this, right, guys, it's just like your ability to close is going to be directly contingent upon your ability to step into conflict. And the further you guys lean into this, the quicker that you're going to be able to be the absolute best closer you can possibly be, right? As you lean into being more emotionally regulated, as you lean into conflict, it's going to get so much easier to actually use these word tracks because you're not going to shut down and you're not going to freak out on calls. And if you made it this far, I just want to say it's a friendly reminder to stop just memorizing rebuttals and start building a nervous system that can actually handle the freaking heat. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments, what's one boundary you need to set in your life that would change your entire sales game, that would change your entire life? You can either put that in the comments or DM me directly. I'd love to chat with you about it. And if you want to go deeper on this, I've got a free training on emotional regulation for sales pros. Link will be in the description, and you can actually just DM me on Facebook as well if you want to get that. Until next time, stay strong, crush your calls, and I'll see you. That's it. Peace.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort, stacking penny stocks.